Hi. Well, it's a beautiful day, though it's cold and snowy. And today I want to talk about just stuff. When you live, okay, you have a certain idea of who you are, okay? And that is your identity. The only problem is that identity isn't necessarily true to who you really are. And it can get in the way of becoming free. I'm not saying you have to get rid of your identity. What I'm saying is you have to stop making it a part of you. And that's it. Because you are not a person, which I've said before. You are a soul. The essence of who you are. Underneath your name and where you were born and your history and everything else, the essence of who you are, that is in your soul. Okay? And if you cannot access that essence, then you have an empty life. Yeah, occasionally we can access the essence by being in a beautiful place, looking at the sky, looking at the woods. But most of the time, it just goes right on by because our lives are so busy. There's so much going on. So, how do we access who we really are? Well, by accepting that you're not who you think you are. Okay? That's it. Accept that you're not who you think you are. I know it's a hard thing to do. Okay? But it's what has to happen. Okay? Now, one of the things about thinking things is that you believe them. Remember when you were young and your mother told you something? You believed her, didn't you? Okay? And in the same way, you believe every one of your thoughts. That's why people have such stubbornness. Okay? And they take positions and they staunchly defend those positions. Okay? But the fact is, most of the time, believing in what you think is not good for you. Okay? Because a lot of the time, you're thinking bad things about you. And I don't want to, I hope that I don't see that happening, but it does happen. Okay? And the only way to stop doing that is to accept that you are not what you think. You are not that. Okay? Now, what are you? Well, your soul. Okay? And that soul is free. Okay? It's a very small piece of God with a connection to God. And that's what you want to try and access, that connection to God. Now, I know that everybody's been raised in certain religions and they think God is this or that or the other, but whatever God is, we can't possibly know. But we can know that we want to know him, that we can't know that we want to have contact with him. Okay? But if you stick to your guns and believe everything you think, then you aren't going to have much contact with him, because your idea of what God is just probably wrong. Okay? I mean, because you were raised in a church and they said things like God is an old man with a gray beard sitting up in the clouds watching you, or something like that. I don't know what they said. But the point is, it's wrong. That's not what God is. That's our conception of God. But what God really is something we don't know, because it's beyond what we can possibly conceive. And I like to think of God as the source of all life, the source of all consciousness in this universe. And we are part of that source. We are part of that consciousness. We are not just little creatures crawling across a world. Okay? Because our souls, okay, we don't really have souls, we are souls, but the soul that we are, okay, is connected to God, to the source, and is part of everything. And so that is what we are too. So once you have accepted that you are not what you think, that what you think isn't necessarily correct, and I know that's a hard thing to accept, you know? But you must, if you want to be free. You know, I mean, it's easy to think that everything I think is right. It makes me feel good. I'm so right. Blah, blah, blah. And then I think everything I say is right. And then somebody comes along and says, you're wrong. And I go, what? You've offended me. You know? And then the next thing I know, I don't have peace anymore. I don't have love or anything, really. I have anger. Okay? So being right isn't necessarily the answer to how to live. It's a nice thing to have, being right, you know. And if you're right, that's great. You know, if you're a scientist and you're studying the universe and you're right about it, fantastic. Okay? But you're not right about you. Okay? Just tell you right now. Because you are a soul. So, accept that. Just accept it. Okay? And then after you've accepted that, which I know is hard, you can let go of all these things you've been holding on to. Okay? Your positions, your titles, your possessions. Not necessarily let go of your possessions as you don't have them anymore, but just let go of making them a part of you. All these things in your life have become a part of you because you have made them that way. Because that's what every human does. When we were primitives living in the jungle, we had to make things a part. This arrowhead is part of me because I need it. I have to have it in order to survive. Okay? But we don't need that anymore. So, making everything a part of you is a way of making yourself feel better about the world. Better about your place in the world. Okay? But it's blocking the world from you. You can't see or understand or feel the world if you're blocked by the stuff that you think. letting go is simply not making things a part of you anymore. Okay? For instance, when I was growing up, my mom was a bitch. And it was so much a part of me that my mom was a bitch that when she died, although I cared, a part of me was like, the bitch is dead. Isn't that crazy? I love my mom, you know? But when I was a teenager, she was kind of a bitch. Anyway, the point is, holding on to that idea of who my mom was, and she was just a woman doing her thing, you know? It messes with all of our memories. It messes with all of the things that we think about that makes life good. If you hold on to these negative ideas about what life is. And it can be anything. It doesn't have to be about a person or someone you love. It can be anything at all. That you have these ideas that are just wrong. Anyway, so let go. Learn to let go. And believe me, it is totally freeing. These things you're holding on to, you don't want to hold on to them. You don't need them. But you're holding on to them because your brain and your ego want you to. But they're not you. You have let them run the show because you didn't know any better, but now you know that they're running the show. The ego is like an entity. It exists within your mind. Okay? And it has an agenda. And that agenda is make itself feel big or make you feel small. Crazy, isn't it? But that's what the agenda is. If it can't make itself feel big by you being big and great, then it wants to make you feel small. And it does that by basically telling you all these bad things about yourself. Okay? Anyway, the point is, try and remember that you are not you. You're not a person. It doesn't matter where you grew up. It doesn't matter where you were born. It doesn't matter what you did with your life. Okay? Because in the end, all that stuff doesn't matter. When you're laying on your deathbed and you look at your wall of trophies, it's meaningless. It becomes meaningless because that's just what it does. Okay? What doesn't become meaningless, what isn't meaningless, is your connection to God. Okay? And not only to God, but to everyone else in the universe. Not just people on this planet, but everywhere. Okay? Well, alright. I guess that's enough for this particular video. I love you all because we're all one. And have a great day and a great life.